Hey, everybody, it's Ron Bass with another edition of Soar High Personal Development, your source for inspiration. Joining me today is Davin Hunley with an I, Brent A, our marketing guru, and Mike Rose, martial artist extraordinaire. So today we're going to delve into the mind. We're going to talk about self-esteem, low self-esteem. We're going to talk about poor self-image. I think these are things that haunt lots of people all the time. And we're going to figure it out today. We're going to figure out a solution for people to reverse these situations. What do you think about that, Mike?
Um, there's a lot to think about.
There's a lot to think about.
Um,
I think a lot of people suffer from these
yeah,
issues.
no,
A lot of people.
I think, honestly, I think a lot of people do, and that could be numerous of things to hit the nail on like the head. I don't know. It's you got to find your worth. You have to find like how you feel, and execute that. And you don't want to live like say like feel all the time, but you want to have a feel where you go to where it makes you feel good. It makes you feel good about yourself and accomplishing something, because if whatever you look like, whatever your ethnicity is, race or whatever, and say even birth defects, right? You can go like that route, like we have the self image or something. But there's you have to find what makes you happy, and it goes back to feeling. But now if you're talking about like a mental disorder, or some people where I've met, like say like a woman, like where I could see that she is beautiful, or like in the beauty is perception, and everything that how I perceive it is my own world and my own
We'll see.
reality
Saying perception is
is reality.
reality.
Yes, but say like if Davin and I were looking at something, and he perceives something different, but that's in his world. You see what I'm saying? But for the individual that's having what self doubts and being insecure with themselves, you have to first learn, in my opinion, to love yourself, to even love anybody else. And yeah, my other thing is you have to respect yourself where you can respect anybody else, and be loyal to yourself before you could be loyal to anybody else. That's my opinion.
Well, you threw out a lot of key words there. I'm going to review those a little bit. We're going to delve into some of those topics as well. Um, Self
Absolutely.
worth.
I
How do you,
think
and how do you create self worth?
I think
What is it that propels that?
if you had asked me, I feel like a lot of people are entitled, and a lot of people don't understand like what they're doing. Like they may think it's like we go back to perceiving things, right? A lot of people don't know that they realize that they're making a mistake, and you slap them on the hand, and then they're like appalled. They're like, whoa, 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 whoa. They don't like the energy, but you have to like shake them up a little bit. You have to wake them up, like, hey, like this is you. This is really you. I wish I had a camera. I wish I had some audio. This is really who you are. I'm not perfect. I'm just saying, like, I'm very, very self-aware of myself and other people, and in my environment. And some people aren't. Some people are more elevated. Some people turn to drugs, alcohol, just because they don't want to be aware of their self-image anymore. They're
So
not
I
happy.
like that. Along those lines, I've always said you have to take ownership of yourself.
You have
You
to.
have to look in the mirror every morning and be realistic with yourself
You do.
and not lie to yourself, not deceive yourself. Well, if you don't like something,
You gotta change it, fix it, and just hit it on right on the nail the head right there. Boom.
hit it head on.
Absolutely.
I like that.
I'm with you.
Okay, and then you were talking about accomplishment. To me, accomplishment is the drug.
It is. I always say this, we could chain every podcast together. But yeah, no, you need to have some sort of accomplishment or goals. Otherwise, your self image or your self worth, like I said, some people really do feel entitled without like scratching the surface. And then some people, like, all they do is just like swing and swing and swing and swing. And I hate the term where it's like, well, you were 2 swings away from gold. You just stopped. We don't know that.
There's an old saying that usually people that success is right around the corner. People always stop right before That magic moment.
But some people say that. I don't really like that term. It's just because we should be working hard no matter what.
But people quit before they get there. Because they lose that sense of so they don't have that confidence in
Yeah,
themselves, and they think it's not going to happen. And if they just would stay with it,
but that's why people need to face humility or face challenges, and just face like, hey, this is probably not going to happen. But you have to act like, and you have to feel like, damn, I have to go get it every day.
it's another reason why you need mentorship. You
You
need
do.
somebody
Oh,
that to be a
absolutely.
you need like you're a coach. You're a coach in your own jujitsu dojo. You have to. People have to have a coach in their corner to push them, to encourage them, to help them, to straighten them out when they're going down the wrong path. Don't you agree with that?
I do. I do. I feel like every coach has their niche almost, or their special ability. I would say my special ability would be like, working, one on one, hand to hand, you know, and just because I express myself a lot more, I can really show more technique. But if we're talking about a group, it's really hard because there's a lot of feelings in the air. But because we're talking about one person, right? Like if we're saying like for the individual that
Yeah.
has issues with self worth and self
And we're
doubt.
talking to people in the audience today that are struggling with this, low self-esteem and a poor self-image. Because if you don't have a good self-esteem, if you don't have a good self-image, if you don't look at yourself in the mirror and feel good about yourself, you're not going to go very far in life. Well, I think mentorship is critical. I think you have to have people in your corner to support you and encourage you, whoever that is, a father, a brother, a friend, a coach, somebody that you can count on that believes in you. I think that's a very important piece of the puzzle to become a more successful
Well,
person.
someone to be on the outside looking in instead
Yes.
of inside looking out.
Yes.
Because there's a lot of things I'm very unsure of until I did some like critical thinking, even with myself. Not that I'm like always having self doubts, but most people do. Even successful people do have self doubts. Sometimes they get caught in their head, and they don't feel right. And that's why I always go back to like, say like in music, right? I say, all the money couldn't wipe the tears away. It just couldn't. You have to. It's about how you feel about yourself, not
Yes.
not how much money you have in the bank account or anything. And it's about your worth.
There's probably a lot of people out there that have a lot of money and they're still not happy. So
Yeah,
it doesn't always bring money. Money's nice, but it's a tool.
but it is a tool. It's a
It's
tool.
not going to bring you happiness. It's going to be maybe a sense of accomplishment if you're in business, as an example. You're earning, or a professional, you're earning income and you're creating capital. That's accomplishment. Now, that's great.
But
But just to have a lot of money and to feel everything's great, no, it doesn't work like that.
no, but you have to have money to live.
Have to have money to
But
live.
that live by your means, your utilities, rent, payments.
Basics.
It's just back to the basics always. It's always back to the
You
basics.
said something earlier too I liked about love yourself.
You
Why
have to
don't you
love
expound
yourself.
upon that just a little bit?
I get really deep into it, and I think if you don't learn to love yourself and your qualities, that's why I feel like fitness is important, or even having a mentorship that is good too. But fitness is important because you are focusing on yourself. You are chiseling your own self because no one could chisel it for you. No one is gonna pick up the hammer and swing it for you. So once you figure that out, you start figuring out your body. You start figuring out what really works for you, and then you start noticing people notice you, and then you're like, man, I'm really onto something. And that's a good thing about doing fitness or going to like say working out. Those people are not there by accident. Now you get some duds or like people that are very egotistical, but most of those people are really good people, and they're going through troubles too, and they're learning to love themselves
Who
because
who isn't going through some kind of trouble every
oh
day?
yeah, everybody is, but the key thing is like once you're trying to learn to love yourself and the way you were created, then you could love other people. You could share those encouragements for other people, and you could inspire other people too.
You talked earlier about being loyal to yourself.
Oh, absolutely.
What did you mean by that?
And it goes back to like say another podcast, like, maybe goal setting, right? And trying to be better at making sure that, we have a criteria that we gotta meet or whatever, regimen, or whatever you want to call it. but a certain thing that we got to do every day, every week, maybe every hour.
A schedule.
Say like, and I'm not trying to be religious, but like Muslims, like say like Muslims, they have their prayers certain times of the
Certain
day.
times of the day, yeah.
So they're very like, and they're
Disciplined.
very disciplined. So what loyalty has to come with discipline, in my opinion. You have to be very,
You have
very
to be loyal to
disciplined.
yourself. You
You
have to be
have
loyal
to.
to your cause,
Yeah, you have to.
to your
And
process.
when you are, people can understand that. And then if I'm gonna speak about, say, like how I think that I need to be making sure I live the life that I speak about. And now say like acting, or like say like you are entertaining. It's different from me. Like say if I'm like writing, or say I'm writing a script. This is all entertainment and has to be separated from my real life. Because my real life, I do have things where I say like, this is how I really live. This is what I really do. And it's a whole process, and it's a learning experience every day. But once we recite these things about ourselves and our self-worth. I know my worth, but I'm not going to put a price on my worth. It is
There is no price
priceless.
tag.
It's
It's
priceless.
priceless.
And for people say they know their worth, mine is priceless, and that's it.
So I always tell people, don't sell your soul. Your self-respect is everything.
Oh,
When
absolutely.
you when
And
you
that's the most important thing right there, what you just said. And in my terms, if we had to recite anything, what you just said was probably right there the most meaningful thing you just said.
don't sell your soul.
Yeah, oh yeah, and then just saying, literally, like, it's about the person, it's about the passion, it's about your worth, and literally,
Don't sell yourself out.
but you have to have these traits where whatever you're looking for, you have to be that person first. You have to be that person, and not in a negative way, because in negativity, that's not going to work. You want to have these things in your certain life, the positivity things. You have to first love yourself.
So what happens when people hang out with negative people and they have all this negative influence? How do you
It's a
counter that?
disruption. It's just disrupting a lot of things. It's just a distraction, and there's some people that just are not self-aware. They're not self-aware, and they live in the moment. I'm not the type of person that lives in the moment, unless it's like a fight, or it's a jiu-jitsu bout, or anything. That's living in the moment. When people say
Hmm.
live in the moment, those are things you just can't control. Those are things that our destiny is waiting to happen, and sometimes you have to live in the moment. But that's only when it becomes high speed. But if you had to ask me, like, that's how I really feel.
Speaking of how you really feel, how about Brent and Davin? You guys are speaking
Go
so
ahead.
loud I can't even hear you.
Go ahead. Man, you guys are on a
Yeah,
roll.
you guys are just going, so I didn't want to interrupt.
Well-
When I was having troubles with self-image, I noticed that something that helped me was not comparing myself to others, not comparing what I have to others or what others have to what I have. Um, say a certain shoe, for instance, like that guy has this multiple $100 shoe and I want it, but I don't have the money for it, so I'm not good enough. That's just what my mental state said at that point in time. Um, Probably like a year ago with production, I felt like I was good, but I wasn't good enough to make actual songs with artists. That's not the case anymore, but it's hard to get out of. But I think everyone is different, but I think that one major thing is comparing yourself to others or comparing the things that you have or do.
That's a good point. I think you have to compare yourself to yourself, your former self. And as you go forward in life and you reach out to these new goals, you have to keep looking back to who your old self was. Are you better than that old self? Are you more accomplished than that old? That's who you have to compare yourself to, not to anybody else.
I agree with that. Something that stood out, that Professor Eric actually drew on the board for me. He drew like this. It was just like an ascending line, but sometimes it would go down. So it was like a
Mhm.
line, and then it would go down, and then it would go back up. And once he was done with it, he said, "What do you notice about this?" And I said, "I'm not sure. It's just ascending." He said, "Well, this is your life. So you may hit these bumps in the road where you go down sometimes to rock bottom, but you always come back up, and you're always higher than you were. Like, You never
Yeah.
go lower than your like lowest time technically after that first lowest time.
I think what happens as you become stronger psychologically and more confident in yourself, what happens is these lows always come along because that's life. But what happens is the lows they're not as deep, and you're able to respond and get through it quicker. So you're always going to have these bumps, but the downs are going to be less often, and they're not going to last as long as you become a stronger person going forward in your life. But every day, we talk about this in the podcast, you're going to have challenges. It's just life,
Even
life in the big
experience.
city. Yeah,
Experience.
you're going to have it every single day. The key is to learn how to handle challenge, right? That we talked about that in we talk about that really almost every day in the podcast, in one of our podcasts. Brent, you're awfully quiet over there.
No.
Chomping at the bit to tell us
No,
something?
no. We've said this in a lot of different ways, but surround yourself with good people and good things happen. And I know sounds simplified, but it's so true. And the people that I've noticed in my experience anyway that have achieved goals, are getting where they want to go. These are people that have confidence and they have a good attitude. And you can't have confidence and a good attitude if you have low self-esteem. So, if you have that, it's going to be hard to accomplish anything. You're either going to become numb and just accept what's happening and just move on, or you're going to correct and try to fix that self-esteem. I think you have to. I don't think you can have low self-esteem and have a good attitude and confidence and get where you're trying to go.
Something just dawned on me that Mike said, being self-aware. That's something that's really important. Like sometimes I say to myself, oh, I'm being lazy. So that self-awareness is like, all right, if I'm being late, excuse me, if I'm being lazy, I need to switch it up. I have to become self-aware and say, okay, if I'm not doing what I need to do, let's go do something that I need to do for a couple of hours or however long, and that's just something that I've struggled with pretty much my whole life.
Most people don't. Most people, I would say, probably 80% of people are not self-aware.
No, not at all.
I would say 80%. And I could read it very quickly, and that's why I always say like emotional intelligence is important. I'm very like I could tell, but I put it out there. Like I don't have to say a word. Like I try to put it out there, where it's just like, hey, I don't want to be talked to today. Just let me do my thing. And then like it's or just like say like looking at somebody's eye, like say, and it's like self-preservation. Say like somebody's asking for money, right? I just don't look them in the eye because that sends the signal where it's like that's the opener. It's like no, it's not you know what I mean? Because you always want to like always say hi to any human or be cordial with any human, but then you just kind of see like the signs, but that comes with experience. And when you've been there 1,000 times, you learn from every experience. That's when we were talking about ups and downs. Those downs ain't so hard is because you're well seasoned. And
Seasoned, I
you're
like
well
that
seasoned,
word.
yes. But I'm glad Davin did bring that up. I would say most people
Are lazy? Is that what you said?
no,
That too.
no. I think everybody's lazy in a sense, but that's all right. It's okay.
It's human nature.
Yeah,
It's okay. Hey, being lazy is just how are you being lazy? Are we working on yourself? Because sometimes like I like having me time and being lazy, but I'm working on myself at the same time. I'm very aware of what I'm doing, and I know when I'm doing too much, and I know when I'm doing too little. Sometimes lazy could be like I need a break, and I'm being lazy today. Sorry, but it's just all
How do you know when you need a break?
your body will tell you probably first because I could fight my mental all day. I mean, that's just how I am. Like my mental's like, no, I'm done. No, we're not. But my body, when the body says like we're done, you just know. But you have to listen to your body before you can listen to your mind because your mind will push you.
I'm the opposite of that. Mine is definitely my mental. When I notice that whatever I'm doing is not productive in the sense of like mixing a song or mixing a podcast, making a beat, if I am not satisfied with 3 or 4 separate songs / beats, then I'm like, okay, I need to take a break. I need to just relax for a second. Maybe go outside, go on a jog, a walk, go shoot some baskets, throw a baseball, something, anything to get my mind off trying to be hyper creative. because that
Well, if
just
we're talking about creativity, I do agree with you. But if we're talking about, you know, like stuff that we want to achieve, or like physically,
right.
I think that mental push is nice. But I do agree with you in like creativity. Sometimes you do need a break in creativity. It
I
don't happen
I
overnight.
also agree with you on that. Like, if I'm like trying to push myself to finish a song, I will. No matter how long it takes me. But say like with
Y-
school,
Yeah,
like
I think
school can drain my mental as
it
well.
no, for sure, for sure. But I think like if we're talking like a physical, or we're doing activity, whether it's fitness, whether it's shooting some hoops, right? Or just in a situation where it's high tens. I really think there's a mental warfare, and even like creativity, like say like if I'm writing whatever, if we're talking about music, I always tell myself like I need to be me, and no rush, and just whatever I feel at the moment. And then if I need a break, I just take the break, and that's just the way it is. If what I mean, I can't force
No,
anything.
you can't
My
ever
mental my
force it.
mental wants to go, but also like I need to feel it with my whole body and my soul and my mind.
Exactly.
So, and music's a different thing. That's a whole different animal. But if you're talking about in general physically, I think a lot of people need to face the adversity when we talked about that, and to go through those trials and heartaches, mentally be pushed and become stronger at the end of the day.
Speaking of fitness, they say that a good exercise really will take the place of antidepressants. So, for anybody that's depressed out there, that's another good reason to hit the gym every day and get a good, vigorous, at least 30 minutes to an hour of exercise.
I don't mean to interject here, but there was one more thing that I
Sure,
wanted
you don't
to.
mean to,
I know I'm the interrupting Irene.
Interrupting Irene.
DII. Davin with an I.
Oh yeah, see there we go. We brought it
There
all
you
the
go,
way
Dan.
around.
That's good.
It
The
was
son of a humorist, by the way.
it was don't beat yourself up. Like if you
Right.
notice that you're down in the dumps, don't beat yourself up over it. Everyone has that at some point in their
Good
life.
point.
Or if you're feeling lazy, don't beat yourself up over it.
Good
If
point.
you think you aren't working hard enough, or you're working too hard, maybe like sometimes I feel like I'm not working hard enough, and I'm like, maybe I don't need to beat myself up over it, because then I realize what I've done over the past, say, 7 days or a month. I'm like, I have been working hard. I don't.
You just have to make sure to express yourself to other people that ever say like for me, for instance, and the things I do, I try to express myself constantly. And I know some people are there for their own deal. They don't care what I say, but I have to express it because there's most likely that people need to hear and be aware. And that's something that's very important, is like making sure I'm expressing and articulating in a
So
way.
let me back this thing up all the way. I have some strong feelings, obviously, about a lot of things, but a good friend of mine who's no longer with us taught me years ago. He said, "Ron, help people the way they're going. If they're going down because they just don't give a damn, let them go. If they're coming up and they really want to improve, give them a hand up." So I say that to say this: for whoever's listening out there today that are wanting to hate on what we're trying to accomplish, I get it. We're not trying to push anything down anybody's throat. All we're trying to do is to help the people that want to be helped. And for those people out there, that's really our audience.
We're just
Not
setting it out
everybody
there.
wants to be helped, and I get it. I
Yep.
understand that. But for
Yep.
those that want to be helped, pay attention to what we're talking about on
Yeah.
these podcasts, because all of us at this table have been through all the things that we're talking about. We speak from the heart, from experience, not from a textbook.
Here's another thing that I wanted to talk about, like with mentorship, and we were talking about, expressing yourself. So, say someone that doesn't have any friends or family, they can obtain a mentor who is not necessarily their friend nor their family. That's someone that you can talk to about something specific. Like, you're one of my mentors, you're another mentor, and you are a mentor as well. So, having that is a different conversation to express yourself than having that like one or two friends that you can really express yourself in a different way from your mentor. And then also having family. Like, everybody says like, I don't have anyone to talk to. I get that. I've been in that position as well, but I if I have something specific that I know I want to keep private from a lot of people, I can talk to a family member, like my grandmother. Her and I are very close, and we have been close for a long time. And then say like my old roommate, that's a friend that I can always talk to about something that I need with a friend. Same with Mike. Mike and I have been friends for a long time. But when it comes to like a mentor or like something business that I need to talk to, or even sometimes something personal, I can always talk to any of you three and you guys will give me good advice. And I'm just saying, like, even if you think you don't have anyone to talk to, there's someone out there that will listen to
Yeah,
you.
well, I'll add to that. You would be surprised how many people that are in business will be more than happy to talk to you, even if you really don't know them. And you
Exactly.
know somebody that does know them because they actually take pride in what they do, and they feel like what they do is a good way or the right way to do things. And even if you don't take or use everything you got from that one individual, I think it's the combination of meeting with a couple of different people
Yes,
that
exactly.
you'll get all these pieces of information that you put together to make your own way.
Exactly.
And that comes with the experience. That reminds me
Yeah.
of like, say like even having like my mentors, you know, there's some that I've had in the past where in the past and they're, once you get to know them more, they have their own ups and downs. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? But I learned in Davin, thank you for saying this because how you articulated or explained it, and you explained it with good detail. I like how you explained it. I just want to say that.
Thank you.
And I, everybody's gonna have like those things that I like we don't like for like what makes us be like and then some people are gonna have those things that we do like where it's like okay, but it almost goes back to what Ron was saying. The good out if the good outweighs the bad, those people are good people, and I always say that. But even your mentors are gonna have bad qualities, and you have to see that. You have to be aware of that and be like, well, I can't be acting like that. You know what I mean? But you always want to pick up the good pieces where they're left off, and you try to he because he does whoever your mentors need to share some negative with you to be like okay, and then you see some negative and you're like oh man I can't be doing that. But even going back to even you were talking about business, I know I'm kind of over the board, but even back to business, a lot of people are very prideful and they want it their certain way, and I would never step on anybody's toes because that's what works for them, that's what makes them happy, and that's where they feel like their worth is accomplished. So I think any business you go to, there's always something that they have where they like. Go ahead.
One last thing that you said earlier, a key word or two key words, mental disorder. I think we should talk about that a little bit before we close out
Yes,
today.
absolutely. And I know we have a little bit of time. If you had to ask me, I'm sorry to mean take all the air in the room, but I know you always look to me, and I know you like to talk about it, but I think it's a big thing. When I say 80%, I would say in my experience for right now, I'm almost hitting 30. I'm turning 28 this year, but I would
Pushing 40.
pushing 40. The big 40, the 50,
What do they say? 40 is
the new
Lordy,
20.
Lordy, you turned 40 or something like that.
Yeah,
50 is
corny,
nifty.
the corny 40.
Oh
Is
my
that what it
God.
is?
Here we go.
I'm just playing, but I would say self awareness. Some people don't have like they don't know what they're doing and they want to be the big shot. But I would say even a mental disorder would be like, I'm not saying mental disorder because of ego. Most people have ego. Even to your mentors have ego. Most people have it, but it's how well you manage that. It goes back to managing again. How well can you manage your ego? How much humility have you faced? How much times have you been through the pressure mentally? And say like military, right? If we were out, I've never served at all, but I'm saying like I understand it. I get it. They work as a unit and they have to be a team. But if one man falls through the cracks and he has an issue, guess what? All you guys are dead. You have to work as a team. You have to work as a unit. You have to see whoever's the leader. He was set out to be the leader for a purpose. And some people need to understand that, like say in a different mindset, that when it comes to like you were born to be a leader. You were born for that. You've encouraged a lot of people, and you only help the ones that are going to be like coming up. You're not going to help anybody that's going down, and I agree with that because some people do need help that are going up. They don't have it like most people do, but you've worked hard all your life. You see what I'm saying? You've been aware that you needed to get up every day, do everything you need to do, and no one's going to hand it to you. But you mentally are fit. You mentally understand that. But do every person that is like in the norm is going to be perfect? No. They have their own mental setbacks where they're just like, well, that doesn't make me tick like another human does. Then we feel messed up about it. That's not how we should feel, like, oh, we're the sick ones in the head, because these people that have problems think we're mental for even talking about this. Saying like, oh, I don't want him telling me what to do. Da 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 da. They're trying to be authority. I'm demanding. No, I'm not. I am trying to be your friend at the end of the day and have your best interest. But if people don't understand that, some people are, in my opinion, are mentally ill. And I say most people, even myself, even maybe them, but we have our own sick way of thinking about stuff. Everybody does. But like I said, it goes back to how you feel. Are you hurting anybody? No. Okay, well then keep on proceeding. If you're not hurting yourself, self-mutilation or whatever, you're not hurting yourself and putting yourself through suffering, and you're not doing that to anybody else, then you're on the right path, in my opinion. But you know what I mean? It's at the end of the day, you're not hurting nobody, hurting yourself, and you just keep on going.
What's the old saying? Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me.
That's pretty good right there. That's old school, but that's real.
old
Back to the
school,
it's
man.
back to the basics. Back to the basics. It's always the basics, and everything in life will go back to the basics.
Basics and fundamentals.
It's always.
That'll save you every time.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I would say that.
Fascinating.
There's no secret sauce. There's no
secret sauce.
And the secret sauce within yourself.
I think there's a
I think
lot of
Davin
people
said
out
that.
there
I think Davin
listening
said
to
that
these
the other day.
podcasts thinking there's a secret sauce.
I think Davin did say that. Yeah, I can't remember.
Because
Yeah.
it's right.
The secret sauce is within yourself.
Yeah, it's always in yourself, because
hard work, discipline, dedication, never give up.
well, the kicker,
Follow the rules.
The kicker is self-awareness.
Oh yeah.
If you are self-awareness, if you are self-aware, you have the quote-unquote secret sauce. If you know what you're about, and you know the type of person you are, and you know what you want, and you know what you don't want,
it's intense.
that's your sauce. That's all it is.
And some people don't know how to handle that, like, intensity, because they're not used to like somebody that's very self-aware, very, very have good self-esteem, very confident, and know what they want. Some people are very put off by that. They think that's authority, think that's that power. But some people can't be that guy. And I know it's sad to say, but just because you think you can't be that guy, you have to find that mentally. Whatever your physical form is, your physical form. Some people, I know we're going off a little bit, but genetics are a big key, and some people will blame genetics on the thing. But let's go back to the mental thing. You could train your mind. You could push through it, pass the suffering. I'm not saying like bottle it up and be in a shell, in a hollow shell. I'm saying that you have to push past some of the BS. You know what I mean? Within yourself, and you can't lie to yourself.
That's a good
You
point.
can't lie
can't
to yourself,
deceive yourself.
because and sooner or later, it doesn't matter if it's 50 years down the road, you will be exposed by somebody.
Mhm.
Somebody will expose you. And I think about that constantly. That's just the way why I move the way I move. I try to be in my P's and Q's, cross my T's and dot my I's. Sticks and stones will break my bones, and words will never hurt me. but I know at the end of the day, you know what I mean? That's why I try to be real as possible. And some people find that very intense and very off-putting sometimes, but that's not the case.
It's the same with me with like my ego. Like Mike knows the best that I have a really big ego about certain things.
But it's not a bad ego though.
No. But to some people it is.
Or some people, because they don't understand you and they don't sat around you.
Well,
That you're just feeling yourself.
Exactly.
Here's my read on what you're saying, that you have to follow your own path in life, and you have to satisfy yourself first. And if people can't handle that, that's on them. It's not on you.
And you have to know yourself. You have
Yes.
to know
You can't
who
change
you are.
your life to satisfy
Yeah.
other people. It does not work. And I see this happen all the time in relationships, and it's bad juju. You can't modify your life to make somebody else happy. You have to make yourself happy. Mike said that earlier
First.
in the podcast.
First.
You have to
First.
come first.
And not because of
And
selfishness.
that's not selfish.
No.
That's just good leadership qualities.
Yeah,
Quality.
because you know at the end of the day, you have your best interest for people, And also people will be like, well, why is he making me do this? Why is he? I'm the one who's mentoring. I'm the one that's coaching. You're the one who signed up. At the end of the day, all I know is I'm not going to put you through more than I've been put through. I'm going to put you with the same or less. I would never, ever give you what you just can't bite off, or it's something that I've never been through. If I've walked down that path, and guess what? I'm going to make you walk down that path too.
Brent, any closing thoughts?
No, I know you earlier you touched on mental illness, but I don't know what you were
Well,
gonna.
that's a whole.
you were
Well,
gonna-
I
you were
was
gonna-
going to go down another pathway
Okay.
than what Mike went down.
We
But
can
we can
save
do that
that.
another day.
Yeah.
That's a whole podcast by itself.
One thing I want to add before we close out. I'm sorry. Last thing. One more thing.
Last three things.
Last three things. But Davin was saying, and I think there has to be a separation between what type of ego is, and to me, when somebody physically says something to me like I could beat you, to me, that's a physical ego. Now my ego has to rise. My ego I have to step out of my seat and to show you, hey, it's time to put down your ego.
I wish someone would challenge me. Like, yeah, no, that's the.
But that's a different side of ego. But you're saying like your ego, like I'm very aware that your ego doesn't mean anything but you're feeling yourself, which is good. That's just being confident and being like hyping yourself up.
But I
that
have
type of
that-
ego is different.
I have that challenge. Like, an ego is a whole nother podcast for me.
Whole nother
I can tell
podcast.
you. I'll talk for an hour about ego because I've had a whole slew. I had a god complex at one point in time, and then I got shot down with it, and then I lost it. And yeah, I have a whole story about an ego. But either way, everyone has an ego.
But you got more self-aware.
Right. I'm trying to
So-
go off of like the challenge ego.
Well,
Like,
yeah, I think when most people are like, well, Mike, I could do this and do that. I'm like, no, you can't.
exactly.
Let me humble you out real quick because
Exactly.
God keeps me humble every day. And I've been checked many times in my life, whether it's financially, physically, mentally, spiritually. We
All
go
of them.
on the list.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is most people haven't adored that, and because they block it out. They're not self-aware. We're going back to even self-esteem, their own self-confidence. That's the things they have never faced
Exactly.
until they face it
And that's
head
why
to
their
head.
ego is this
Yep.
big. And
And-
then when you come out and you're like, oh,
Till you get smacked. Just one little smack.
and that's
then-
that's what I'm saying. Like with both our egos, they're the same. Our egos are like this
Yeah.
at first, but someone comes up and challenges
For
us.
sure.
It's a wrap.
Yeah, no, for sure. Because you're gonna be like, okay,
Yeah.
let me set you back in your seat real quick,
Exactly.
and let me feed you from the high chair.
Who's colder than me with the laptop?
But see, I like that. That's good ego. That's a good ego. That's good ego. That's your confidence. That's your confidence, and that's your way of expressing confidence. Anybody that's been around you would know that that's not what you mean. But for the outside looking in, yeah, they're gonna say it's ego.
Yeah, but if
physical
somebody
ego.
comes in and says, I can make better beats than you, I'd be like, okay.
Yeah.
And then we would settle it. And,
yeah,
it's a wrap. It's same
Yeah.
with like
what you should say is, okay, then I'm going to buy them because we're going to use them.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. How much you
That's
charging?
pretty good. That's
How much you
pretty good.
charging? And then I take their drums off and I do better drums.
Yeah.
I buy their melody. All right, we'll wrap it up. I'm sorry. We should talk about ego sometime.
Yeah,
I'm ready to talk
that's
about
a whole
that.
nother podcast. Mental illness for one podcast, ego for another podcast. Well, guys, I appreciate everybody hanging out today, and hopefully our audience out there got something out of it. I want to close with the following comment. Just remember, if you don't give up, the stars will line up.